What's up, guys? Brett Appley here from dailyfanmma.com, back with another UFC Quick Picks on the Mayo Media Network. We have UFC Singapore this weekend. Max Holloway versus Korean Zombie in the main event. This card locks at 2 a.m. Pacific, 5 a.m. Eastern on Saturday morning, I guess. So best of luck if you're going to watch this card live. I'll probably be awake for the start of it at least. I'm not sure I'll be able to pull an all-nighter, but props to the guys who are over there in Europe doing this all the time. This is an early card. Not the best name value card either, but should be some fun fights and interesting DraftKings slate. As usual, I'm going to give you my favorite cash game play, tournament play, salary play, and a matchup I like from a DraftKings perspective. Before I get into that, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and why don't you give me an underdog you're comfortable playing with. This week, I think salary relief is going to be very important. So if there are fighters below the mid-range that you like, that you're confident in, it may be worth taking stands on them on this particular slate, because you're going to need the savings in order to pay up for the big guns. All right, let's get into my cash game play of the week, which is going to be Max Holloway, 9.7K. All right, Max Holloway in cash games. I know he's expensive, 9.7K. He's minus 773 to beat Chan Sung Jung, the Korean Zombie, in this main event, which is a really big price tag. And he's minus 180 to win inside the distance, which these are great metrics for Max Holloway, who doesn't really need great metrics in order to smash on DraftKings. I mean, this guy has put up 153, 209, 165 in scores before, and he just has unmatched upside pretty much compared to anyone else in the sport. I mean, the volume that he can land is just otherworldly. He put up, I think, 445, is that right? 445, yeah, significant strikes against Calvin Kattar. I'm always going to pick Max Holloway to win unless it's against a very specific type of opponent. Chan Sung Jung lands 3.9 strikes per minute, absorbs 4.3 per minute. That is just not a good recipe when fighting Max Holloway. He is dangerous. I mean, he has knockout upside. He's also a pretty good submission grappler, but he's not really the most effective wrestler. Again, he gets hit more than he lands. So I think unless he hurts Max Holloway early or can find some sort of submission early, Holloway's going to win. Holloway's probably going to outland him, land more effectively, and probably hurt and finish Zombie at this point. I mean, Zombie's been effectively knocked out in nearly all of his losses, and he's been dropped a bunch of times recently. Holloway definitely has strong odds to win, a very safe floor and ceiling, elite metrics on this slate. He's an expensive fighter to pay up for, but I think he's well worth it in cash games at 9.7K. All right, moving on to tournaments. I am going to give out Rolando Bedoya at 9.2K, mostly as a pivot in this top range. Holloway is a totally elite option. Nakamura, an elite option. JJ Aldrich rates out as one of the elite options on this slate. Bedoya does not as much, so he's certainly more of a risk than those fighters, but I think he'll be significantly lower owned than those fighters, and he saves some salary at 9.2K. He had a very fun UFC debut against Chaos Williams, in which he landed like 149 significant strikes, just a ton of volume. And he's fighting Song Kenan, who is known for having some power in his hands, but nothing more. Not an effective wrestler, grappler. He's been knocked out in 2 consecutive fights, gets hit a lot more than he lands strikes of his own. So, I mean, yeah, I don't think Bedoya is a lock on this slate. Bedoya just got hit 130 times in 15 minutes. If Song Kenan lands a big shot on him and hurts him, I wouldn't be shocked by that. But Bedoya has far superior volume, and I think it's quite possible that the volume contributes to another knockout win for him, another knockout loss for Song Kenan. And at 9.2K, it's a very interesting pivot option because of the ownership factor. He is minus 295 to win, so he's still quite safe according to the odds. plus 120 to win inside the distance. That's not going to compare to the minus 180 of Max Holloway or the minus 300 plus of Nakamura, but a knockout for Bedoya plus a large number of significant strikes can lead to a very high ceiling. So again, this is not the safest play on the slate. I do think Bedoya should win the fight. He's the more effective striker, the higher volume striker, better cardio. We're really needing that early knockout win from him, but the ownership is really intriguing here, especially considering the fighters priced above him are going to be so much more popular. They cost a lot more. I think pivoting to Bedoya in tournaments is a really interesting strategy and one I will look to employ to a degree, depending on the size of my portfolio. Next up, my salary play of the week. I am going to roll with Billy Goff at 7.8K, making his UFC debut against Yusaku Kinoshita. And Goff is one of those fighters who you watch his regional tape and he gets hurt a lot. He's been put in bad positions a lot. I think he was head kicked in like 30 seconds on the Contender Series and nearly finished. But he really never does get finished. He always fights back really well, and he can break opponents with his pace and pressure. And he is a plus 117 underdog to Kinoshita, who just got out grappled and TKO'd in the first round by Adam Fugit. That was a really bad sign. I mean, I think Kinoshita can sort of snipe at Goff and hopefully hurt him and finish him. And I don't mind Kinoshita shares in tournaments. But if that outcome doesn't happen, I think the pressure and pace and volume of Goff and wrestling is going to get to Kinoshita, and I think Goff is going to win this fight. So at 7.8K, I really like the fight, but I prefer the Goff side of things given the salary relief. He is plus 165 to win inside the distance. That's a great number for this price tag, making his UFC debut, so hopefully not a lot of people are on him yet. One of my favorite matchups on the slate, and I'll have a lot of exposure to Goff there. Should be a great fight. And finally, my tournament matchup of the week. I am going to roll with Junior Tafa versus Parker Porter. Tafa's 8.6K, Porter 7.6K. Tafa, the slight favorite at, what is he, minus 141. Porter plus 122. This is a pretty binary matchup in the sense where I think Junior Tafa has early knockout upside. He's a dangerous striker. He's in the Glory kickboxing promotion. Porter is getting old and he's kind of slow, and he's been knocked out early pretty recently. In fact, he was knocked out early pretty recently by Junior Tafa's brother. That took Justin Tafa 1 minute and 6 seconds. And I think that's the outcome Junior Tafa will be attempting to replicate. He's minus 115 to win inside the distance. I think that's one of the most likely outcomes in this matchup is that he wins by first round knockout. And strong metrics, great price tag. I think Junior Tafa is a really strong tournament option. Porter's coming off a win against Braxton Smith, in which he had to showcase some grappling ability. And Porter's also gone the distance multiple times against, low-level opponents, but Parisian and Chase Sherman, and he's landed 125-plus significant strikes multiple times. And Junior Tafa just has shown weak defensive grappling, a weak get-up game, like weak control and questionable cardio, and I just don't know if he wins this fight at all if it doesn't happen in the first round. So if Porter wins, which I'm not saying is the most likely outcome, but if Porter wins, it probably comes from grappling, it probably comes from volume, and it very well could come inside the distance. Porter is plus 225 to win inside the distance at 7.6K. People never really love to play this guy. That's quite a bit of salary savings on this slate for these kind of metrics, and I think it's a really strong fight to target. The winner projects to have a very moderate floor and ceiling. I do think Tafa will be the more popular side, but I think it's a really strong fight to target. It'll be my matchup of the week. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week's UFC Quick Picks. Thank you so much for the support. You can follow me on Twitter, Appley, TTPP, dailyfanmma.com for all your DraftKings breakdowns needs. Just went an hour and a half with my boy Gordo here, breaking down every single fight on the slate. If you want access to that, again, dailyfanmma.com. Thank you guys for the support. Best of luck in your contests, and see y'all soon. Bye, everybody.